beautiful sound of the early spring rain tapping on my balcony glass, watching the tiny silver water drops sliding down so smooth as the quiet morning minutes pass. Walking inside the small dark kitchen to mix a warm sweet coffee cup to chase the sleep away. Staring out at the misty watercolor neighborhood street, blocking out the frantic rush of the day. The fresh scent of the damp earth is rising through the window screen, feeling incredibly sweet. The entire busy modern city slowing down its heavy velocity beneath the beautiful cloudy sheet. Our vintage coordinates are blending with the rhythm of the drops, keeping me warm and elite. Letting the soft rainy melody wash over my tight shoulders. Welcome in the morning with the lazy stride. Our vintage coordinates are finding a perfect cozy sanctuary inside this warm and quiet place to hide. Looking at the colorful umbrellas opening up one by one down on the crowded Central Station lane. People are walking carefully to protect their clean clothes from the puddles created by the rain. We don't need to feel gloomy or complain about the gray overcast sky hanging over our young head when the gentle whispering of the spring shower is giving a beautiful comforting lullaby instead. Sipping the hot sweet coffee while leaning my back against the frame, holding the peaceful control. The entire busy modern city slowing down its heavy velocity beneath the beautiful cloudy sheet. Our vintage coordinates are blending with the rhythm of the drops, keeping me warm and elite. Letting the soft rain and melody wash over my tired shoulders. Welcome in the morning with a lazy stride. Our vintage coordinates are finding a perfect cozy sanctuary inside this warm and quiet place to hide. Our vintage coordinates are finding a perfect cozy sanctuary inside this warm and quiet place to hide. Walking down the wet sidewalk while holding my favorite navy umbrella, so tight and so steady. The entire morning neighborhood is covered in a silver mist, getting the busy transit ready. Arriving at the crowded local bus station where the colorful umbrellas are standing in a neat line. Watching the bright golden headlamps of the heavy vehicles reflecting on the asphalt pavement fine. The cool, refreshing raindrops are making a gentle dulcet music underneath the plastic roof sheet. Waiting for the next urban coach to take me straight into the heart of the frantic working street. Our vintage coordinates are checking the morning route, matching the city beat, shaking off the tiny water droplets from my jacket sleeve, catching the lively commuter parade groove. My vintage leather shoes are stepping over the small puddles, ready to make a brilliant daily move. People are are standing shoulder to shoulder without saying a single word, but sharing the same space, adjusting their smart winter coats while looking at the digital schedule display with a calm face. We don't need to feel annoyed by the damp humid atmosphere or let the minor discomfort spoil our day, when the magnificent wet scenery of the morning metropolis is looking like a beautiful movie display. Stepping inside the opening folding doors with a confident smile, ready to conquer the upcoming floor, waiting for the next urban coach to take me straight into the heart of the frantic working street. A vintage coordinates are checking the morning route, matching the city beat, shaking off the tiny water droplets from my jacket sleeve, catching the lively commuter parade groove. My vintage leather shoes are stepping over the small puddles, ready to make a brilliant daily move. A vintage coordinates are checking the morning route, matching the city beat. Leaning my head so gently against the cold vibrating window of the morning commuter bus line, watching the heavy translucent crystal raindrops gather together and draw a beautiful long silver line. The fast-moving city landscape is blurring into a soft pastel watercolor painting outside the dark frame, while the vintage radio inside the vehicle is whispering nostalgic song with no particular name, finding a strange comfort and peace inside this small moving box, separated from the chaotic morning race. The tiny water droplets are racing down the smooth glass surface, leaving a beautiful transparent trace. Our vintage coordinates are resting on the window seat, watching the world change its face, taking a deep reflective breath while listening to the reels, accepting all the hidden complicated emotions and the quiet melancholy that my young spirit feels. Passing by the neon-lit coffee shops where the early students are starting to open up their thick keys. The bright yellow street lamps are still flickering through the misty branches of the wet ginkgo trees. We don't need to hurry our private journey or feel distressed by the gray, humid weather today, when this beautiful solitary moment behind the wet glass is chasing all the deep inner shadows away, tracing the outline of a fading raindrop with my fingertip, letting the calm melody overflow my core. The tiny water droplets are racing down the smooth glass surface, leaving a beautiful transparent trace. Our vintage coordinates are resting on the window seat, watching the world change its face. Taking a deep reflective breath while listening to the reels, accepting all the hidden complicated emotions and the quiet melancholy that my young spirit feels. Our vintage coordinates are resting on the window seat, watching the world change its face.
Waking up half asleep to the dim and blurry whisper of the midnight rain tapping outside my wall. Opening my heavy eyes way before the scheduled morning buzzer, answering the early nature's call. The world is still wearing a thick blanket of deep darkness. Not a single car or pedestrian in sight, but the fresh chilly air entering through the small window crack is making my heavy spirit feel so light. Discovering a magnificent hidden sanctuary inside this untouched secret hour before the brilliant dawn. The quiet spring rain is painting the sleeping city gray, while my focused thoughts are beautifully drawn. Our vintage coordinates are floating in the silent velvet space, breathing before the day is born. There is a strange empowering magic in this extra pocket of time that the lonely universe has lent. Sitting quietly on the edge of the mattress, embracing the beautiful mystery that the night has sent. Listening to the slow rhythmic pattern of the water drops falling from the old rooftop terrace frame. Feeling my tired brain become perfectly clear and sharp, giving a brand new meaning to my private name. We don't need to rush our waking routines or feel annoyed by the sudden loss of our comfortable bed, when this pristine, solitary hour of the pouring rain is washing away the heavy worries from our head. Smiling gently at the clock glowing blue in the dark, capturing the absolute freshness of my young soul. The quiet spring rain is painting the sleeping city gray, while my focused thoughts are beautifully drawn. Our vintage coordinates are floating in the silent velvet space, breathing before the day is born. There is a strange empowering magic beautiful mystery that the night has sent. Our vintage coordinates, all floating in the silent velvet space, breathing before the day is born. Opening the window wide to feel the chilly touch of the early spring rain washing the midnight air. Staring down at the quiet narrow alleyway where the yellow street lamps cast a soft and lonely flare. But from the grand main boulevard echoing so far away, beyond the dark residential apartment block, hearing the giant majestic sound of early morning vehicles splitting the wet asphalt before the clock. Realizing the profound secret that the industry's world has already started. It's powerful running pace. The rushing tides are cutting through the deep water puddles, leaving a magnificent echoing splash in space. Our vintage coordinates are witnessing the hidden morning, finding a beautiful holy place. So many diligent pioneers are already driving through the heavy darkness to open a brand new day, blowing away my small remaining doubts, showing me a grand and beautifully determined way. I used to believe that the entire universe was completely frozen in a deep slumber until the sunrise. But this beautiful symphony of the wet concrete road is opening up my narrow and young sleepy eyes. We don't need to feel isolated or think that we are carrying the heavy load of life all on our own, when the steady rhythmic spray of the distant traffic proves that we are never walking alone. Leaning my chin on the windowsill, capturing the fresh unwritten energy of this majestic hour, so bright. The rushing tides are cutting through the deep water puddles, leaving a magnificent echoing splash in space. Our vintage coordinates are witnessing the hidden morning, finding a beautiful holy place. So many diligent pioneers are already driving through the heavy darkness to open the brand new day, blowing away my small remaining doubts, showing me a grand and beautifully determined way. Our vintage coordinates are witnessing the hidden morning, finding a beautiful holy place. listening closely to the absolute silence of the sleeping world, where the soft water begins to fall. Noticing how the tiny cadence of the spring rain is shifting its style against my bedroom wall. A sudden mysterious emotion is rising up inside my chest as the light pattern turns into a heavy beat, bringing back the forgotten ancient wonders of Mother Nature that I lost on the concrete street. I am deeply shocked to find that my frantic modern heart can still feel this beautiful poetic grace. The shifting rhythm of the liquid sky is opening up a secret door inside this solitary midnight space. Our vintage coordinates are pausing in the quiet room, watching the seasons change their face. Surprised at my own reflection in the window glass, discovering a soft, sensitive spirit hidden deep within. Reconnecting with the grand, magnificent symphony of the universe beneath my weary working skin. We spend our busy days staring at the digital screens and chasing after the artificial flashing sign, completely ignoring the magnificent magic of the falling water drops that follow a grand divine design. But this pristine hour of the quiet dawn is slowing down my pulse and clearing away the heavy mental rust, proving that our young souls are still alive and breathing underneath the thick metropolitan dust. Smiling gently at the complex pattern of the water streams, feeling a profound harmony touch my core. The shifting rhythm of the liquid sky is opening up a secret door inside this solitary midnight space. Our vintage coordinates are pausing in the quiet room, watching the seasons change their face. Surprised at my own reflection in the window glass, discovering a soft, sensitive spirit hidden deep within. Reconnecting with the grand, magnificent symphony of the universe beneath my weary working skin. Coordinates are pausing in the quiet room, watching the seasons change their fate. Waking up to a beautiful morning with absolutely no noisy alarm clocks to rush my peaceful stride. Grinding the dark vintage coffee beans by hand, watching the fine rich powder pile up with pride. Pouring the steaming hot water so slowly in a perfect circle, create a grand magnificent bloom. Watching the rich aromatic essence of the drip coffee fill up every single corner of my small room. Holding the warm ceramic mug close to my chest, staring at the gentle spring rain falling outside.
This is my perfect tiny piece of genuine happiness, watching the liquid sky with no secrets to hide. Our vintage coordinates are resting by the kitchen table, feeling completely satisfied. But we don't need a massive billionaire fortune to experience the ultimate paradise under heavy sun. Just a high bitter sip and the sound of the rain is enough to make my quiet everyday victory won. The frantic modern society is always demanding us to run faster and achieve a bigger mountaintop. But my young spirit is learning the beautiful wisdom of knowing exactly when to freeze and stop. Staring at the translucent water beads, creating tiny artistic ripples on the garden window screen. Feeling my complicated thoughts becoming so wonderfully soft, and my internal landscape clean. Leaning my chin on my palm with a very lazy smile, embracing this magnificent slowness of my day. This is my perfect tiny piece of genuine happiness, watching the liquid sky with no secrets to hide. Our vintage coordinates are resting by the kitchen table, feeling completely satisfied. We don't need a massive billionaire fortune to experience the ultimate paradise under heavy sun. Just a high bitter sip and the sound of the rain is enough to make my quiet everyday victory won. Our vintage coordinates are resting by the kitchen table, feeling completely satisfied.
Clumsy umbrella and stepping straight out into the pouring morning mist, feeling a sudden playful temptation in my young heart that my sensible brain simply cannot resist. Wanting to run and jog along the wet riverside lane without caring about getting completely soaked inside, letting the cool liquid sky wash away the heavy urban stress and the secrets that I used to hide. The cold refreshing raindrops are splashing on my burning forehead, keeping my spirits so wild and awake. Taking a magnificent leap over the deep muddy puddles, leaving all the boring secular rules in my wake. Just our vintage coordinates are accelerating under the clouds, taking a beautiful race. Staring at me from the dry inside of the coffee shops, thinking that I have completely lost my mind. But they will never experience this ultimate freedom of leaving the heavy mental baggage far behind. We don't need a perfectly sunny day or a beautiful clear horizon to find the golden sparks of our youth, when the honest friction of my running shoes against the wet concrete is telling the absolute truest truth. Breathing in the fresh misty oxygen with a very triumphant smile, conquering the entire neighborhood track. Taking a magnificent leap taking a beautiful risk today.
Walking down the bustling morning avenue, I holding my fabric umbrella right above my head. Feeling the cold refreshing water drop and splash and stain the bottom of my favorite denim thread. Looking through the misty air, the beautiful kaleidoscope of colorful umbrellas moving along the lane. So many different characters and ordinary heroes are waking up the metropolis underneath the rain. Every single face is carrying a unique private story, step by step upon the wet concrete track. The Russian world is moving forward with a silent dignity, and there is no reason to look back. Squish, splash. Our vintage coordinates are drifting in the crowd, discovering a fresh new morning light. An old businessman holding his heavy leather briefcase while walking with a deeply determined stride. A young couple sharing a small pink canopy, laughing together with a genuine warmth they cannot hide. I used to move through this identical metropolitan landscape without giving a single thoughtful glance, but the magical filter of this beautiful spring shower is turning the routine into a magnificent dance. We don't need to feel separated or think that we are struggling alone inside this tough modern land, when the steady syncopated rhythm of 1,000 footsteps proves we are moving hand in hand. Adjusting my grip on the handle with a very gentle smile, embracing the rich variety of my day. The Russian world is moving forward with the silent dignity, and there is no reason to look back. Swish, splash. Our vintage coordinates are drifting in the crowd, discovering a fresh new morning light. An old businessman holding his heavy leather briefcase while walking with a deeply determined stride. A young couple sharing a small pink canopy, laughing together with a genuine warmth they cannot hide. Drifting in the crowd, discovering a fresh new morning light. Stepping inside the packed morning commuter bus while carrying this heavy dripping plastic canopy. It instantly becomes the most awkward and annoying item inside this crowded, moving, modern galaxy. Trying to wrap it tight, but my clumsy fingers slip and make a very sudden careless mistake today, accidentally brushing against a stranger's clean trousers, splashing a tiny water drop along the way. Oh my God, my frantic heart freezes up for a second, feeling so terribly embarrassed in this tight place. But looking around the dark bus, I quickly put a very smooth and innocent poker face on my gaze. Shake, shake, ta-ta-da-da-da. Our vintage coordinates are inventing a quick excuse, finding a funny defense today. Whispering to myself that everyone else must be making the exact same clumsy blunders on a rainy day.
absolutely no reason to feel inside dismay. The lady next to me is also struggling with her big polka dot umbrella, knocking against the metal pole. And a young businessman drops his smartphone into a puddle near the door, losing his complete control. See, we are all just a bunch of imperfect human beings trying our best to navigate through the humid storm. We don't need to feel a massive moral guilt over a tiny accident when the heavy environment is out of norm. Leaning my shoulder against the handle with a sneaky little grin, letting my silly anxiety float away. But looking around the dark bus, I quickly put a very smooth and innocent poker face on my gaze. Shake, shake, towel, towel. Our vintage coordinates are inventing a quick excuse, finding a funny defense today. Whispering to myself that everyone else must be making the exact same clumsy blunders on a rainy day. It is just a natural law of the damp metropolis, so there is absolutely no reason to feel inside dismay. Our vintage coordinates are inventing a quick excuse, finding a funny defense today.
Stepping into the bright, magnificent marble lobby of a corporate skyscraper building today. Watching the dark, translucent water drops from 100 umbrellas, staining the clean floor gray. Outside in the cold, humid storm, it was a beautiful protective shield, keeping the heavy rain apart. But the moment it crosses the golden threshold, it turns into an annoying nuisance inside this busy mart. Leaning against the concrete pillar, staring at the wet puddles spreading so wide under the artificial light. Heavy question enters my complicated mind, turning my confident young spirit into a lonely flight. Wondering if I am also just an unwelcome burden, splashing doubts through the midnight sight. Am I trailing a heavy shadow or wet discomfort behind my back, everywhere that my weary feet roam? Ooh, an awkward piece of an elite puzzle that never belongs inside this grand society, or back at my private home. The busy office workers are passing by so fast, while shaking their heads at the slippery floor, dangerous track. Nobody wants to touch the damp, dripping fabric, or offer a kind, reassuring pat on his lonely curved back. We struggle so hard to make a meaningful contribution and build a solid foundation underneath the heavy sun. But sometimes our honest intentions only leave a messy, wet trace before the actual work has even begun. Sighing softly against the cold window glass, confronting this sudden fragile mirror of my history. wondering if I am also just an unwelcome burden, splashing doubts through the midnight sky.
Staring out blankly through the wet office window at the beautiful crystal raindrops dancing so free. Suddenly a long forgotten memory comes rushing back inside, bringing a sweet vintage nostalgia to me. On a cloudy damp day like this, my young heart always remembers that beautiful girl with the long dark hair. Walking under the old school campus trees without a single worry, leaving a sweet scent in the chilly air. Her bright gentle smile used to illuminate my entire dark universe, making the heavy world completely bright. The soft rainy afternoon is bringing back the beautiful pure phantom of my very first romantic night. Our vintage coordinates are traveling back to the innocent days, turning the old gears tight. Though we have walked down completely different paths and became busy, mature adults in our own separate space, I still feel a deep gratefulness whenever the cold spring shower brings back the lovely silhouette of her face. The frantic modern society forces us to bury our sweet childish feeling and chase the grand physical prize. But this quiet moment of looking at the water drops is opening up the locked sanctuary where my heart lies. We don't need a heavy dramatic regret or a sad tears to appreciate the golden pages that we left far behind. Just this small nostalgic smile inside my lonely office cubicle is enough to comfort my weary adult mind. Resting my chin on my palms while watching the clouds roll by, sending a silent blessing across the sky. The soft rainy afternoon is bringing back the beautiful pure phantom of my very first romantic night. Our vintage coordinates are traveling back to the innocent days, turning the old gears tight. Though we have walked down completely different paths and became busy, mature adults in our own separate space, I still feel a deep gratefulness whenever the cold spring shower brings back the lovely silhouette of her face.
in the beautiful afternoon, walk underneath the sudden downpour with her by my side. Sharing a single small fabric umbrella together, having absolutely no place for our hearts to hide. The canopy was way too narrow for our two young bodies, forcing our shoulders to touch so close and tight. Feeling my chest pound like a frantic drum every single time a sweet silhouette came into my sight. Walking down the wet, muddy college street, while the cold spring wind was blowing through the green tree. My right shoulder was getting completely soaked in the rain, just to keep her dry and perfectly free. Our vintage coordinates are locked in the sweet memory, smiling at the sacrifice of mine. Back then, the chilly water drops were freezing my skin, but my internal spirit was burning twice as warm and bright, protecting her beautiful long dark hair under the canvas shield, walking through the gray and cloudy night. I kept tilting the old metal umbrella handle slowly toward her side without saying a single honest word, hoping she wouldn't notice my silly secret gesture, while listening to the distant voice of a lonely bird. We didn't care about the ruining shoes or the wet trousers, because the small canopy was our paradise. Staring at the reflection of the street lights in her deep eyes, realizing that love needs no grand compromise. Even though my left side was completely drenched before the stroll was done, I wish the rain would never stop. My right shoulder was getting completely soaked in the rain, just to keep her dry and perfectly free. Hey, our vintage coordinates are locked in the sweet memory, smiling at the sacrifice of mine. Back then, the chilly water drops were freezing my skin, but my internal spirit was burning twice as warm and bright, protecting her beautiful long dark hair under the canvas shield, walking through the gray and cloudy night. Our vintage coordinates are locked in the sweet memory, smiling at the sacrifice of mine back then. Standing frozen inside the gray local transit terminal while the chilly spring afternoon begins to fade, watching the heavy pouring rain fall so ugly and mean against the concrete bus platform shade. That miserable weather seemed to know our fragile secret, washing away the very last words we said. As she slowly stepped up the high iron stairs without turning back, leaving a heavy stone in my head. Staring through the foggy exhaust fumes at a blurry silhouette hiding behind the dark window pane. The massive wheels started rolling away, so cold and heartless, carried her straight into the pouring rain. Oh, our vintage coordinates are recording the final goodbye, watching the red taillights wane. That was the absolute last glimpse of her beautiful long hair that my broken spirit would ever see. Left completely alone in the damp, crowded terminal station, while the cold wind was mocking at me. I wanted to run after the giant vehicle and scream her sweet name until my tired throat became dry. But my mature pride kept my heavy feet glued to the floor, forcing me to swallow the painful cry. We don't need a loud dramatic scene or a frantic begging to know that a beautiful chapter is totally done. When the heavy steel doors close shut so tight, you realize that your precious summer has finally run, wiping the cold moisture off my numb cheeks, accepting the ultimate end of our magnificent romantic line. The massive wheels started rolling away, so cold and heartless, ooh, carrying her straight into the pouring rain. Vintage coordinates are recording the final goodbye, watching the red taillights away. That was the absolute last glimpse of her beautiful long hair that my broken spirit would ever see. Left completely alone in the damp, crowded terminal station, while the cold wind was mocking at me. Our vintage coordinates are recording the final goodbye, watching the red taillights wane. Staring at the cloudy sky tonight, still searching for the cryptic answer that I lost so long ago. Thinking back to that frozen afternoon in the terminal station, where the bitter winds blow. I can still see the dark translucent watermarks running down her pale and trembling soft cheek. Those strange black raindrops hiding the fragile expression of a girl who was too proud to speak. Was it the cheap makeup smudging from the heavy silent tears she secretly tried to suppress inside? Or was it just the dirty city dust mixed mixed with the cruel spring shower that she simply could not hide. Vintage coordinates are tracing the mystery, still wondering about the meaning tonight. 30 years of running through this hectic modern life, but that dark visual riddle remains completely blurred. An unsolved puzzle piece left behind on the wet concrete platform, the very last memory of her. Her deep eyes were looking through my weary spirit like an ancient book filled with a secret sign, never saying whether she wanted to run into my protective arms or leave our messy romantic line. We don't need a clear translation for every single sad farewell, because the heavy truth is often blind. But that black streak on a beautiful face is still haunting the quiet corners of my adult mind. Sipping a cold bitter water while the memory stains the window pane, keeping the old riddle whole. Or was it just the dirty city dust mixed with the cruel spring shower that she simply could not hide? A vintage coordinates are tracing the mystery, still wondering about the meaning tonight. Oh, 30 years of running through this hectic modern life, but that dark visual riddle remains completely blurred. An unsolved puzzle piece left behind on the wet concrete platform, the very last memory of her. Oh, our vintage coordinates are tracing the mystery, still wondering about the meaning tonight. Stepping inside a small old diner while the heavy spring rain is washing the dark metropolitan street. Ordering a hot steaming bowl of handmade thick knife-cut noodles to give my weary spirit a comforting treat. Staring at the white rising mist that instantly fills up the air and blurs the lines of my metal frame. Wondering about the deep philosophical meaning behind this simple local dish that carries no luxury name. These rough, uneven noodles were shaped by the tired hands of a master, not by a cold, perfect machine. Just like our bumpy young lives, trying so hard to survive and navigate through this wild secular scene. Our vintage coordinates are resting at the wooden table, melting the chilly shadows clean, sipping the rich, savory broth while adding a crispy piece of fresh bread, spicy kimchi right on the top. Feeling the ultimate peace peace and the genuine salvation of knowing exactly when to let the heavy world stop. The frantic modern society is always forcing us to dine at the expensive spots and chase the flashing sign. But the absolute honest warmth of this $5 sanctuary is enough to heal this lonely spirit of mine. We don't need a grand romantic victory or a massive applause to realize that our life is beautifully good. When a simple bowl of hot water and we can sustain our young dreams exactly the way that it should. Swallowing the thick, chewy noodles with a very quiet smile, accepting all the imperfections of my day. Just like our bumpy young lives, trying so hard to survive and navigate through this wild secular scene. Our village coordinates are resting at the wooden table, melting the chilly shadows clean, sipping the rich, savory broth while adding a crispy piece of fresh red spicy kimchi right on the top. Ooh, feeling the ultimate peace and the genuine salvation of knowing exactly when to let the heavy world stop. Our village coordinates are resting at the wooden table, melting the chilly shadows clean.
Staring at the thick glass partition that separates my quiet indoor cubicle from the wet outdoor street. Two completely different universes divided by a transparent wall where the cold and the warm never meet. Closing the heavy frame so tight that even the beautiful rustling melody of the spring rain is totally dead. Leaving a heavy suffocating silence that slowly wraps around my shoulder and weighs down my head, keeping my chin down on the messy paperwork, drifting away into a deep solitary island tonight. If I don't lift my eyes up to check the horizon, I will never know if the liquid sky is dark or bright. Our vintage coordinates are sealed in the quiet room, acting like a long forgotten bond. Just like our beautiful passionate connection that withered away without a single dramatic screaming sound, locked behind the cold window of passing time, buried deep where no familiar whispers can ever be found. Spend my entire evening running through the repetitive digital codes and hiding my fragile internal scars, completely oblivious to whether the storm has cleared away or left a beautiful crown of midnight stars. We don't get a regular
update or a friendly notification from the precious people we cast far behind. They become an invisible phantom dwelling in the hidden archives of our busy, preoccupied, adored mind. Realizing that you might be living under a warm sunshine while my private sky is pouring a heavy gray sheet. If I don't lift my eyes up to check the horizon, I will never know if the liquid sky is dark or bright. Our vintage coordinates are sealed in the quiet room, acting like a long forgotten bond. That withered away without a single dramatic screaming sound, locked behind the cold window of passing time, buried deep where no familiar whispers can never be found. Our vintage coordinates are sealed in the quiet room, acting like a long forgotten bond in flight. Lifting my tired-eyed eyes up at the sudden magnificent brightness breaking through the concrete wall, sliding the glass window wide open to feel the crisp, sweet oxygen after the heavy storm fall. The miserable dark gray columns of clouds are rolling back to reveal the hidden majestic sky. And right across the massive residential city towers, a giant beautiful arch is catching my eye. A brilliant kaleidoscope of 7 perfect colors is painted so softly on the fresh, humid space. The long, painful night of sorrow is melting away as the golden sunlight kisses my weary face. Our vintage coordinates are emerging from the deep shadows, finding a triumphant grace. Every single cold raindrop that softened my lonely shoulder was just a divine seed to make this magic bloom, washing away the lingering doubts of my young, fragile spirit, clearing every single ounce of my gloom. I used to believe that the heavy storm would last forever and trap my heart inside an eternal shade. But this magnificent rainbow horizon is proving that the most beautiful promises are never meant to fade. We don't need to fear the messy trials of the concrete jungle or the awkward blunders of our working day. When the majestic universe can turn our hidden tears into a grand masterpiece along the wet highway, smiling so wide with the genuine peaceful heart, capturing this breathtaking miracle of the early afternoon. A long, painful night of sorrow is melting away as the golden sunlight kisses my weary face. Our vintage
Stepping back inside the massive concrete transit terminal, while the spring rain is falling once again. Walking through the same crowded ticket gate, where my younger spirit used to carry such a heavy pain. The familiar pungent smell of diesel exhaust and wet coats is filling up every corner of the station space. And the heavy dark coaches are still waiting in their designated lines to run toward a faraway place. Everything looks exactly identical to that heartbreaking afternoon when my entire fragile world fell apart. But a strange comforting calmness is resting inside the deep sanctuary of my grown and mature heart. Our vintage coordinates are revisiting the old platform, realizing that the old wounds are smart. No more desperate tears are rushing down my face as I watch the large wheels split the wet concrete pavement fine, accepting the absolute truth that the heavy storm has finally passed and completed its private romantic line. I remember how I used to stand under this exact plastic roof shelter, feeling so completely devastated and blind, screaming a silent prayer into the foggy gray air, hoping that the cruel vehicle would leave her love behind. But standing here today at the edge of the iron platform, while holding a hot paper coffee cup in my right hand, I can finally look at the long empty highway with the gentle understanding smile that only adults can understand. We don't need to hold a bitter resentment or freeze our souls in the past when the seasonal clouds move away. But a strange comforting calmness is resting inside the deep sanctuary of my grown and mature heart. Our vintage coordinates are revisiting the old platform, realizing that the old wounds are smart. No more desperate tears are rushing down my face as I watch the large wheels split the wet concrete pavement fine, accepting the absolute truth that the heavy storm is finally past and completed its private romantic line. A vintage coordinates are revisiting the old platform, realizing that the old wounds are smart. Sitting all alone inside my dark and empty bedroom, while the midnight shadow completely starts to grow, holding this old wooden acoustic guitar against my chest, watching the endless crystal raindrops racing down the cold window glass like tears from the liquid sky, trying so hard to erase your beautiful familiar image from my head. But it is all a giant useless lie. Every single string I pluck is whispering your sweet private name into this heavy and quiet atmosphere. No matter how much I try to forget, you always return to my lonely heart whenever the storm is near. Our vintage coordinates are breaking the seal, crying out for your long lost silhouette here. Singing this fragile, solitary melody directly into the dark, fighting this eternal haunting ghost of our beautiful past that keeps knocking back at my locked wooden door. I tell my close friends with a confident smile that I have completely recovered and moved on to a brand new line. But the memories of our terminal farewell are wrapped tight in the archive, and my adult spirit is totally fine. But the moment the damp, humid air touches my skin and the street lamps begin to flicker through the gray mist, my mature disguise falls apart into 1,000 fragile pieces, revealing the secret love that still exists. Staring at the blurred reflection of my lonely fingers moving on the fretboard, swallowing the bitter and heavy taste. No matter how much I try to forget, you always return to my lonely heart whenever the storm is near. Our vintage coordinates are breaking the seal, crying out for your long lost silhouette here. Singing this fragile, solitary melody directly into the dark, fighting this eternal haunting ghost of our beautiful past that keeps knocking back at my locked wooden door. Our vintage coordinates are breaking the seal, crying out for your long lost silhouette here.
Stepping out to the sunny balcony while the early morning golden light begins to brilliantly gleam. The heavy rain that poured all day yesterday has washed the entire modern city perfectly clean. Every single speck of thick metropolitan dust on the green ginkgo leaves has vanished away tonight, leaving a gorgeous transparent sky and a crisp refreshing air that makes my heavy spirit feel so light. Walking inside the kitchen with a confident step, feeling a brand new energy filling up my core. The chaotic storm in my complicated mind is finally cleared out, shutting the old sorrowful door. Our vintage coordinates are merging into the bright sunshine, keeping my vision from my head. I spent the long dark night crying over the ghost of our first love, and plucking the sad acoustic string, believing that the humid, depressing shadows would permanently block the beautiful warmth of the spring. But this magnificent, pristine morning has proven that the most painful trials will eventually break and stop, turning our hidden tears into a powerful fuel to help us climb straight back to our private mountaintop. Smiling so wide at my own clean reflection in the mirror, capturing the ultimate freshness of my soul. The chaotic storm in my complicated mind is finally cleared out, shutting the old sorrowful door. Our Vedic coordinates are emerging into the bright sunshine, keeping my vision clear, taking a deep victorious breath while looking at the dry sidewalk where the morning pedestrians tread, organizing all my messy memories and the lingering regrets, throwing away the heavy stones from my head. Our vintage coordinates are emerging into the bright sunshine, keeping my vision clear. Tying my vintage leather shoelaces tight, while the bright morning sunshine warms my front door. Stepping out onto the beautiful dry sidewalk, feeling so much lighter than the day before. The clear blue sky has no traces of yesterday's storm, washing away the heavy memories clean. Walking to the transit line with a confident stride, ready to conquer the busy metropolitan scene, breathing the crisp, fresh oxygen that the spring shower left behind in our small, quiet town. My coordinates are perfectly restored today, and there is absolutely no reason to look back or frown. Moving straight ahead into the lively morning lane, keeping my spirit up and high. People are walking beside me with bright smiling faces, sharing the same cheerful commuter parade. The wet shadows of the terminal farewell have finally evaporated under this magnificent light shade. We don't need to fear the sudden turns of life when our internal foundation is so beautifully strong. Every single trial was just a hidden map leading my young heart exactly where I truly belong. Looking at the towering glass buildings with a peace in my core, welcoming the brilliant daily routine. My coordinates are perfectly restored today, and there is absolutely no reason to look back or frown. Moving straight ahead into the lively morning lane, keeping my spirit up and high.
Stepping into a stranger's cozy cafe after getting completely drenched by a sudden unpredicted summer rain. Wiping my wet forehead with a paper napkin, watching the water drops roll down the window glass pane. My schedule is totally ruined and my favorite shirt is soaked, but this warm yellow lighting feels so fine. Sitting in a quiet corner booth all by myself, realizing that life never really follows a straight perfect line. The rich bitter aroma roasting coffee beans is slowly melting away my sudden uninvited morning chill. Sometimes the best destinations are the beautiful accidents that find us frozen on a stormy hill. Our vintage coordinates are taking a lazy afternoon time out, enjoying the peaceful thrill. I used to stress over every single unannounced cloud and hate when my precise daily plans fell apart. But this unexpected shelter is teaching my young spirit the beautiful art of a gentle spontaneous start. We don't need a perfectly clear forecast to find our golden sanctuary or feel completely safe and sound. When a warm ceramic cup and the heavy music of the rain can make our hidden happiness so easily found. Leaning my head back against the leather seat with a quiet smile, embracing the sudden beautiful delay. Sometimes the best destinations are the beautiful accidents that find us frozen on a stormy hill. Our vintage coordinates are taking a lazy afternoon time out, enjoying the peaceful thrill. Our vintage coordinates are taking a lazy afternoon time out, enjoying the peaceful thrill. Staring at the sudden downpour outside, my romantic mind wanders back to that old classic Korean prose, the pure innocent story of a countryside boy and a fragile city girl that everybody in this country knows. A sudden heavy shower caught them by the stepping stone stream, forcing them to run for a temporary space, hiding together inside a small tight stack of dry straw, sharing the warm beating heart in a tight embrace. That violent rain left a permanent pink flower stain on her sweater, a beautiful mark of her final goodbye. What was the true hidden meaning of that short sudden storm that completely split their magnificent sky? Our vintage coordinates are unlocking the literary archive, chasing the phantom of their side.
Maybe the painful shower was a magnificent filter of time to freeze that beautiful first love forever in a mold, before the harsh realities of the heavy adult world could turn that pure golden spirit so cynical and cold. We don't need a happy ever after ending to realize that a short passing moment was thoroughly divine, when the memory of her long dark hair and the wet pink stain becomes an immortal artistic guiding line. Smiling with a deep mature sadness inside my quiet room, keeping that beautiful young Sunebo safely whole. Was the true hidden meaning of the short sudden storm that completely split their magnificent sky? Our vanished coordinates are unlocking the literary archive, chasing the phantom of their side. Our vanished coordinates are unlocking the literary archive, chasing the phantom of their side.
Spent 3 long hours at the local self-car wash station, sweating buckets under the morning shade, wiping the wheels and polishing the vintage black coat until a perfect flawless mirror was made. But the moment I put my foot on the gas and rode out onto the Grand Metropolitan Highway track, the dark cynical clouds gathered right above my hood, and the unpredictable sky started to crack. Huge ironic raindrops are crashing on my super clean windshield, making a funny tapping sound. Well, my meticulous schedule is completely ruined, but my own spirit is turning the music way up loud. Chop, chop, chop. Our vintage coordinates are accelerating through the storm, laughing at the layout of the cloud. Woo! Layout of the cloud. The people in the next lane are looking at my sparkling roof, giving me a very sympathetic look inside. But I don't care about the waste and wax or the ruined polish, because it is all about the grand joyful ride. At least the water beads are rolling down so beautifully on a fresh coat like an artistic silver bead. We don't need a perfect sunny forecast to enjoy our weekend journey or chase the wild highway speed. Switching the wiper handle with a very cheerful grin, letting the clean rain wash my internal friction clean. Well, my meticulous schedule is completely ruined, but my young spirit is turning the music way up loud. Chop, chop, chop. Our vintage coordinates are accelerating through the storm, laughing at the layout of the cloud. Woo! Our vintage coordinates are accelerating through the storm, laughing at the layout of the cloud.
concrete road where the heavy puddles are starting to fade away. An old familiar wisdom enters my clear head, melting down the last shadows of the cloudy gray. They say the mud becomes twice as solid and hard after the violent spring storm has completely passed. Just like my fragile young heart that survived the terminal farewell, becoming deeply strong at last. Throwing away the old painful letters with the triumphant smile, opening up my long locked internal gate. I am perfectly ready to welcome a brand new lover, trust in the beautiful rhythm of my upcoming fate. Our vintage coordinates are stepping into the sunshine, chasing a fresh romantic night. No more looking back at the long hair phantom, or crying over the memories of the soaked shoulder blade. That beautiful chapter was just necessary lesson to make my mature spirit so fine and highly made. We don't need to freeze our young souls in the winter of regret when a whole new season is waiting outside. Someone is walking toward my universe right now, and I have absolutely no secrets or fear left to hide. Buttoning up my clean jacket with a very stylish grace, greeting the magnificent horizon so bright. I am perfectly ready to welcome a brand new lover, trust in the beautiful rhythm of my upcoming fate. Our vintage coordinates are stepping into the sunshine, chasing a fresh romantic night. Our vintage coordinates are stepping into the sunshine, chasing a fresh romantic night.
Standing quietly beneath the cleared sky, looking down at the silent fields of my long dried internal core, waiting for the blessed sweet rainfall of a true genuine love to knock softly back at my fragile wooden door. The long seasons of cold isolation and painful terminal farewells have left my young soil so weary and plain. But I have plowed the rough earth and hardened the ground, preparing the sanctuary for the miraculous grain, hoping for a beautiful destined partner who will finally understand the hidden poetic language of my lonely side.
I am patiently looking up at the grand horizon,
praying for the
sweet heavy drops
pour from the
high sky.
Our vintage
Coordinates
are resting in the sanctuary,
keeping the solemn faith burning. to chase after the fleeting artificial shadows, or force a shallow connection that doesn't belong. When the ultimate masterpiece of the universe will arrive in its own perfect timing, like a beautiful song. She will step into my quiet world like a soft healing shower, washing away the last lingering winter rust, turning every single drop of my past bitter tears into magnificent blossom, rising straight from the dust, closing my heavy eyes with a very peaceful and reassuring smile, welcoming the ancient grace on my face. I am patiently looking up at the grand horizon, oh, praying for the sweet heavy drops to pour from the high sky. Our vintage coordinates are resting in the sanctuary, keeping the solemn faith burning bright. Our vintage coordinates, the solemn faith burning bright. Ooh, keeping the solemn faith burning
The outdoor city sun is shining brilliantly bright, but inside my hidden spirit, the heavy dark clouds begin to grow. Walking down the crowded Metropolitan Avenue with a fake polite smile, hiding the secret winter winds that blow. Nobody around me can ever hear the silent translucent water drops sliding down the brick walls of my chest. A private territorial storms pouring over my vulnerable memories, leaving no single quiet place to rest. I am drowning in a secret indoor ocean, while the secular world outside is chasing the flashy neon sign. There is a permanent internal rainfall flooding this lonely heart of mine, erasing every secure guiding line. Our vintage coordinates are submerged in the deep shadows, keeping the fragile weeping confined. I try to wrap my wounded spirit in a sophisticated adult disguise and tell myself that everything is totally fine. But the stubborn emotional humidity keeps rusting my confidence and breaking my carefully planned romantic life. We'd
fragile, weeping, confined. Our vintage coordinates are submerged in the deep shadows, keeping the fragile, weeping, confined.
Oh, yeah. Walking through the dense metropolitan crowd, while the early evening shadows begin to softly trace, catching a sudden glimpse of a walking silhouette far ahead that instantly freezes my entire pace. The unique, elegant way she moves her shoulder blade is so incredibly familiar to my vintage eyes. My mature, sophisticated disguise falls apart into 1,000 pieces beneath the quiet metropolitan skies. Is it really a beautiful trick of the twilight, or is my long lost partner standing in the very same line? Sudden, magnificent pink shower of sweet spring blossoms is flooding this lonely heart of mine. Our vintage coordinates are trembling in the dark, watching the ancient embers align. I didn't dare to call out her private name or accelerate my steps to check her beautiful hidden face, fearing that the magical dream would completely pop and leave me stranded in this cold public space. But the absolute honest warmth filling my chest is enough to prove that our love was never thoroughly dead. Every single sweet memory we shared under the umbrella is dancing wildly right inside my preoccupied head. Watching her fading back disappear into the Grand Transit station, keeping this lovely pink stain in my core. Subtly weak, magnificent pink shower of sweet spring blossoms is flooding this lonely heart of mine. Our vintage coordinates are trembling in the dark, watching the ancient embers align. Our vintage coordinates are trembling in the dark, watching the ancient embers align. Staring at my smartphone screen in the quiet evening, text messages flowing back and forth so free. The longtime girl best friend who always stood right beside my shadow is suddenly looking so different to me. I
Never heard a loud dramatic thunder or saw a heavy storm, so I thought my foolish heart was completely dry. But every single text and a casual bright laughter is starting to flip my entire predictable sky. Realizing the beautiful hidden direction where my stubborn emotional compass truly wants to move and slide. Like a gentle misty drizzle falling from the heaven, you were already soaking my secret soul inside. Our vintage coordinates are shifting the boundaries, finding a sweet romantic night to abide. We used to share the cheap coffee and talk about our silly heartbreaks without a single awkward trace. But today my frantic heart skips a major beat whenever my clumsy eyes lock upon her lovely, smiling face. We don't need to look for a faraway stranger when the perfect missing piece was guarding my lonely side all alone. The honest humidity in my chest is proving that our comfortable history is turning into a magnificent song. I'm putting on my favorite jacket with a very happy smile, heading out to meet the one who owns my day. Like a gentle misty drizzle falling from the heaven, you were already soaking my secret soul inside. Our vintage coordinates are shifting the boundaries, finding a sweet romantic night to abide. Our vintage coordinates are shifting the boundaries, finding a sweet romantic night to abide. Looking out at the garden patch where the overnight rain has made the fresh blossoms beautifully grow. Every single red and pink petal is shining so bright under the morning sun's soft golden glow. That beautiful scenery is telling the absolute truth about the private weather inside my hidden core. The spring rain has finally visited my long dried mind, leaving a gorgeous garden right by my door. But sitting on my bed, a sweet nervous question is starting to spin around my preoccupied head. How should I take my very first step toward her universe, turning the words we always casually said? Our vintage coordinates are trembling with joy, planning the perfect romantic line today. Should I buy a grand bouquet of fresh roses or just walk up to her side with a very natural stride, handing her a hot morning latte with a comfortable smile, showing the deep love I no longer want to hide. We spent so many years acting like comfortable friends, but now I wanna be her permanent protective shield. Ooh. The honest humidity in my beating chest is proving that my entire future is to her beautiful presence yield. Stepping out the front door with a very confident heart, ready to ask her to share my beautiful view. Should I take my very first step toward her universe, turning the words we always casually said? Our vintage coordinates are trembling with joy, planning the perfect romantic line today. Vintage coordinates are trembling with joy, planning the perfect romantic line today. Holding her trembling soft hand beneath the clear morning light, looking straight into her deep, beautiful eyes, throwing away all the comfortable jokes and the friendly defense that I used to hide beneath the skies. My entire internal spirit was so completely rough and dry, living in a long season of cold, isolated gray. But your gentle presence arrived like a miraculous heavy downpour, washing all my hidden winter rust away. You are the blessed sweet rainfall that saved my lonely heart, turning my barren ground into a gorgeous place. So let us close the old chapter of friendship tonight and start our very first romantic day one in this space. Our vintage coordinates are locking the timing tight, embracing the sweet future with the stylish grace. We don't need a heavy, complicated speech or a grand dramatic scene to prove that our love is thoroughly true. Just this simple, honest question from my lips is enough to show that my entire tomorrow belongs only to you. No more hiding behind the clumsy platonic umbrella when my beating chest is screaming for your protective shield. Let the permanent sweet drizzle of our shared destiny over our young and passionate horizons completely heal. Smiling so bright as she nods her beautiful head, capturing the absolute perfection of my young restored soul. So let us close the old chapter of friendship tonight and start our very first romantic day one in this space. Our vintage coordinates are locking the timing tight, embracing the sweet future with the stylish grace. The stylish grace. fragile hidden blossom waiting patiently for the sweet spring rainfall to softly touch the earth. She answered my nervous confession with a beautiful radiant smile, giving our long history a brand new birth. Nodding her gorgeous head while the early morning mist completely clears away from my quiet urban street. The heavy years of solitary waiting and emotional droughts are instantly melting beneath our entangled feet. Looking straight into her deep eyes, realizing that her tender spirit was praying for the exact same protective shield. Our magnificent second day, one has finally begun tonight, letting the grand promises of the universe completely yield. Our vintage coordinates are celebrating the ultimate alignment, stepping into the permanent goal. No more crying over the painful ghosts of the terminal farewell, of freezing our young souls in the winter shade. We have returned to the starting point with a mature, wise foundation that can never be broken or fade. We don't need a loud, chaotic celebration when this silent, sacred bond is making our shattered spirits thoroughly whole. The sweet drizzle of our shared destiny is pouring over our horizons, filling every empty corner of my restored soul. Holding her close to my chest with a genuine, peaceful sigh, welcoming the beautiful eternity that we now hold. Our magnificent second day, one has finally begun tonight, letting the grand promises of the universe completely yield. Our vintage coordinates are celebrating the ultimate alignment, stepping into the permanent goal. Our vintage coordinates are celebrating the ultimate alignment, stepping into the permanent Walking side by side beneath the single shared umbrella, while the warm spring rain begins to softly drum, matching our footsteps on the wet urban pavement, letting the sweet romantic bass line comfortably hum. I look at your beautiful smiling profile next to my shoulder, feeling the long winter cold entirely cease. The crowded metropolitan streets that used to feel so lonely are suddenly transforming into a paradise of peace. No more hiding away from the gray, humid clouds, because my entire universe is perfectly anchored by your side. I am saying a final permanent goodbye to all the painful scenes of my past, heartbreaks that I used to hide. Our vintage coordinates are dancing through the shadows, The blurry memory of the terminal farewell, and the dark translucent black raindrops can no longer remain. They have evaporated into the fresh crisp morning air, leaving absolutely no traces of my ancient internal pain. We don't need to stay inside the locked glass partition when we can brave the beautiful outdoor weather together. Every single drop that touches my clean coat is just a divine blessing to lock our precious souls forever. Squeezing your soft hand tightly inside my pocket, welcoming the magnificent journey that we now begin to share. I am saying a final permanent goodbye to all the painful scenes of my past heartbreaks that I used to hide. Our vintage coordinates are dancing through the shower, keeping our bright horizons open and wide. Our vintage coordinates are dancing through the shower, keeping our bright horizons open and wide. They say a beautiful transient rainbow will always appear in the high sky after the heavy rainfall is totally done. But that colorful arch will eventually fade back into the white clouds and disappear under the setting sun. Yet, looking into the deep sanctuary of one restored spirit while holding your precious hand so tight and neat, I realize a magnificent miracle has taken its permanent root right inside the place where our coordinates meet. The long seasons of wet, lonely platforms and painful terminal farewells have completed their educational part. There is a gorgeous eternal rainbow painted across the grand sky, shining forever inside this grateful heart. Our vintage coordinates are emerging from the deep shadows, keeping the beautiful vision so small. Every single cold raindrop that soaked my fragile shoulder blade was just a secret seed to make this love grow, washing away the lingering doubts of my young anxious mind, letting the 7 brilliant colors beautifully show. We don't need to fear the unpredicted summer showers or the awkward blunders of a messy secular day. When the pure, honest warmth of your dedicated soul is guarding my path along the grand metropolitan highway, smiling so wide with a genuine peaceful conscience, anchoring my entire tomorrow in your emerging from the deep shadow,
keeping the beautiful vision
so small. Oh, vintage coordinates are emerging from the deep shadow,
keeping the beautiful vision
so small.
The endless gray rain has been falling all day long, washing the concrete face of this heavy, restless town. Watching the fading neon signs from my lonely window frame, while the midnight shadow slowly settles down. Every single trial and the messy terminal farewell that we survived were just a seasonal lesson for our mind, leaving a rich, mature wisdom inside our young spirits, forcing the bitter old resentments to stay far behind. Turning off the vintage desk lamp with a very quiet sigh, feeling the ultimate peace inside my restored soul. The heavy storm that soaked our horizons is finally clearing away tonight, making our broken spirits thoroughly whole. Our vintage coordinates are signing off from the dark, knowing the bright morning sky is in control. We don't need to cry over the unpredictable forecast anymore, when we have built such a solid and hard ground. The pure, honest warmth of your dedicated presence is the greatest protective sanctuary that my heart ever found. Let the final drops of the spring shower evaporate into the fresh air, closing this magnificent musical book of the night. Tomorrow the brilliant golden sunshine will greet our clean footsteps, keeping our shared future so beautifully bright. Taking one last deep breath in the soothing quiet room, trusting the magnificent loop of the upcoming day. The heavy storm that soaked our horizons is finally clearing away tonight, making our broken spirits thoroughly whole. Our vintage coordinates are signing off from the dark, knowing the bright morning sky is in control. control.